Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations. Welcome to my workspace. Today I wanted to show you guys how to make this Byzantine style kind of Celtic cross out of jump rings. So it's a really cool chainmail project. It only takes 2 ring sizes. I'll have the materials and stuff listed down below. But let's get started. So with this project, it can start to get kind of complicated. We're using 2 different ring sizes, large and small. Our large, our 16 gauge 1/4 inch, and then our small, our 18 gauge 3/16. I'll have that written down in the comment area below. And you can see here, I kind of have a little bit of a menagerie of opened and closed rings going on. I'm going to go over it real quick just for in case you want to start exactly like how I'm starting, but otherwise I'll try to go nice and slow so you can open and close them as need be. But over here I have 12 closed of the small rings. I have 4 open of the large. I have 10 additional 18 gauge 3/16 open. Then over here I have kind of 4 rows of 2 open, 2 closed, 2 open, and then 1 open of the large. Now on the last one there's not an open large. And then over here I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 open and 7 closed. I hope that makes sense. If not, we'll get there. So I'm going to start by taking one of our large open and threading all 12 of these small closed rings onto it. And closing it just like that. And so now from here, I'm going to take a second large ring and I'm going to rethread it back through all of these small closed rings. So basically just doubling up there on the center ring. And this will help everything else to remain that much stiffer. You may decide later on that you want to try cramming a 3rd ring in there, but I've found 2 usually does the trick. And so from here, I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to make a unit of Byzantine chainmail weave. And so over from this section, I think I'm going to bring the camera down a bit so you can see slightly better what I'm doing. So I have an open ring, and I'm going to put 4 closed onto it. And these are of the 18 gauge 3/16. And then I'm going to close that. And now I'm going to put another open ring through those 4 closed. There we go. Please pardon the blurry camera. I do all of my filming on a cell phone, and let's just say I'm much better at making jewelry than I am at being a camera person. And so we'll have that through and closed, and then you can open it up to where it's like this. You know, with 2 going off in one direction, 2 in the center, and 2 off in the other direction. I'm going to get you some alternate angles here. And now I'm going to take an open ring and hook it through just 2 like that. Then I'm going to add on 2 more closed, and I'm going to close it. And then with that, like that, or rather with the rings like this, I'm going to hook another open ring through all 4 that we just added, like this. And I'm going to close it. And so basically we just made some 2-2 chain. See how that hangs? Just like that. And so now I'm going to take this open ring and or this closed ring rather, and I'm going to open it. And then I'm going to thread through. I want to beef this up to where instead of just 2 there, it'll be 3. So I'm threading through these 2. And then threading through these 2. Some folks call this Byzantine, you know, instead, since there's 3, I guess like tri, you know, but it really does add a nice substantial effect as opposed to just the 2. And then from here, the very essence of Byzantine is this next thing we're going to be doing. And this is where you open it, these 2 rings that are hanging. I'm going to brace one with my finger, then move this around with my thumb, and brace that like that. So see how it's kind of stacking? And then you'll turn it and open as demonstrated, and then I'm going to take an open ring and thread through those 2. So see how it forces it into an opened, like kind of cages it together like that. And don't worry, we'll be doing this lots more, so you'll get lots of practice. Let's go ahead and close this ring. And then I'm going to add one more through just those 2. You don't want it to be hooking through like that. That is incorrect. You want it parallel to these rings that we've splayed apart, just hooking through those 2. And then close it. Just like that. So now you can see how that hangs. And I'm going to be adding a large ring through in between these 2 smaller ones. And that's why I have all these extra rings open as well, is you want this to be a fairly stiff final project, so we may end up kind of cramming some rings in there to get everything to kind of sit and stay the way we want it to. But that large ring helped to add a little bit of extra weight, so now these side rings don't have as much of a tendency to splay out the way that they were. Just like that. And so now we're going to set this off to the side to be added on later to the main component. I'm going to bring the camera back up. And then from here, now that we've gotten this first, this first Byzantine piece made, I'm going to take an open ring, hook through 3 of the closed like this, and then I'm going to add on the 2 closed like this and close it. And I do try to get as best of closures as I can on each ring as I'm doing it, because this weave gets tight enough that you're not really going to be able to go back in and touch things up. So I'm going to add another open ring through these 2 and through these 3, following around the same placement as the first ring, and close it. And so now from here you can see we have those 2 rings hanging off of these 2 rings, and this is where we start to do that Byzantine effect. I'm going to set my pliers down and fold one ring back and then the other ring back. And open these two up. And then I'm going to come in with an open ring and hook it like that. And then I'm going to close it. I'm going to thread another open ring through that same spot and close it. And now I have a large ring that I'm going to thread through in between those other two smaller ones. So you can see just like that. And I'm going to close it. Just like that. Yeah, it's still, right now it's still a little floppier than I'd like it to be, but I'm just going to continue around like in this same manner, and then we'll go through at the very end and cram some rings in wherever we can. So I've threaded through those three. I'm going to add on two closed, and I'm just working around the circumference of the piece, like just progressing in either direction. It's not real particular. So I've closed it, and I'm going to thread through these three again, and then through those two, and close it. And now from here, we get to practice that Byzantine spread again. So let's let the camera figure out what it's doing. I'm going to open these rings up, kind of butterfly them, one off into each direction, just like that. And then open up these two rings and just slide through right there. And that pins it into that pattern. And so I'm going to close this one. Then I'm going to thread another small ring through that same spot and close it. And now I'm going to come through with a large ring and hook through those two that I had been threading through, but in between the two smaller ones. Chew, excuse me. I was fighting it and fighting it. I couldn't hold off the sneeze any longer. And we'll close that. And then progress around to the next side. So I'm going to isolate 3 rings. I'm going to hook a small open through those 3. I'm going to place 2 closed small onto that one and close it. Then I'm going to repeat that ring placement with a second ring. So thread through 3 and thread through those 2 and close it. And then here you can see again, I'm going to open up these 2 rings, let them fall off to the sides, and then I'm going to open these 2, and it's this ring and these 2 rings right here that I'm going to be threading an opened ring through, just like that. Then let's close that ring. And then if you want, you can go ahead and at this point just add a large ring instead of doing the 2 small and then adding a large in between them. Oops, didn't mean to go off camera there. And then add in a small. So it's, again, it almost doesn't matter how you get there, so long as you understand what you're doing, and it's all about the end result, really, whenever it boils down to it. And so now we only have these 3 left. It's all still very floppy at this point, so don't lose heart. But yeah, we've got these 3 left. I'm going to hook an open ring through those 3. And from here, this is actually where we add in our Byzantine piece. So I'm going to set this down. I'm actually going to remove from what I just did. And right here, you can see what's happening. we have our one side of this has already been folded up all Byzantine style, so we're going to do that to the other side. So we're going to splay these two, and then we're going to spread it and thread a ring through like that. And then we're going to attach through these 3 rings that are left on the centerpiece. And close. I think. Nope. I did that wrong. Maybe. Did I? I have no idea what I'm doing. Sorry, because I'm looking at a reference image as well, trying to figure out what on earth I'm doing. And it looks like I'm actually, oh boy. So we want to extend the Byzantine angle just like this, right? So this is welcome to brain farting while doing chainmail. So we're going to be extending off that way. I have completely and utterly brain farted. Oops. And I'll start pinging rings. So let's look at this. So I do need this side here to be Byzantined. So maybe I'll use this ring to Byzantine the end like this. That looks nice and tight. Aha. Okay. I see what I have done. Maybe. So I'm going to leave that ring through there so that I don't forget what on earth it is that I'm doing. I'm going to hook this open ring through these 3. And I'm going to put 2 closed on it, as a person would do. And I'm going to close it. I do apologize. It's like I had this all thought out and I was like, yeah, I can do this. And then we get there and it's just brain fart. I'm going to rethread an open one through the 2 additional and the 3 attached to the center and close it. And now from here, this is where I have this one strung through the end, making this a little segment of Byzantine, and I'm going to, this part attached to the center, I'm going to open it up if I can. I don't quite have enough hands, but yeah, get that opened up the way that you would for Byzantine, and then thread some rings in just like that and close it. And then I'm going to thread an additional ring through there, wrap it around, and come through those 2 rings and close it. So if you're having a difficult time, please don't be discouraged. I've been weaving chainmail for 8 years and I still brain fart so much. So I'm still getting the hang of it too. And then I'm going to add a 3rd ring just to help beef it up a bit. And if you look at it, right here I have 3 rings. And so right here I have 3 rings. Because now this still does not look anything really like a cross, like at all. So what I'm going to do is all these extra open rings, this is where I'm going to start weaving them through. And you can see right here, I'm going to point with my pliers first, the folded part of the Byzantine. So like this ring and this ring. I'm going to go through and hook through like that and like that, and I'm going to close it. And before I do any doubling up or anything in this spot, even though I know I'm going to need it, I'm going to progress to the next two arms of this cross, and I'm going to thread through right here and right here. And I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to progress around to the next side of the cross. So right there and right there, and I'm going to close it, and I'm going to progress around again to the fourth little segment, hooking through right there and right there. And so now, I mean, you can see it's still quite floppy, but it's less floppy than what it was. So now I'm going to start doubling up on where we had threaded through already. So now there's 2 rings. I'm going to close it. And then I'm going to thread through right there and right there. And these rings are stacking on top of each other, like they're completely parallel. There's no being interwoven. At least that's what I'm doing. You could possibly actually go through and make a Mobius flower in each corner here, and I might try that in a future video. But this is already a rather complicated project, especially if you're new to chainmail. So I don't want to add in too much stuff to make it nice and complicated. Just thread through those 2 and close it. And now I'm going to add this big ring through these 3, because this is where, if it's on a chain or a cord, that is where it would thread through. And this is our cross so far, you guys. That's pretty neat, huh? And it still has, I mean, it's got a nice little movement to it, but those 4 corner pieces really help keep everything a little bit more solid. And I'm not sure what adding a 3rd ring through might accomplish, except for making it possibly even more rigid. So I want to open up 2 more rings. So I've always got a pile over by me of more rings over here, just in case you needed to add a couple extra or something. So now I'm going to add a 3rd ring through. There's 1 and 2. I'm going to close it. I don't know if it's going to lay properly. Let's get them all added and see what happens. There's 1, 2. I'm going to close it. But stacking rings like this in the weave really does help it to become all the more structural. 2, 3 in this corner. And this is our last corner. It's getting kind of tight. Just right through. And then right through. Okay, close it up. There we go. I think that did the trick, y'all. That's a lot more structurally sound, I think. And then you just got this dancy tail hanging off the end, but that's okay. Is that not just cool? I think I'm pretty pleased with that, y'all. Hey guys, how did it go? I hope this tutorial was helpful to you. It can be kind of overwhelming sometimes, but just take it one ring at a time. Even if you just watch a bit and then pause, and then watch a bit and then pause. I have faith in you. Hopefully together we can do this. But I really like this design. One of my favorite modifications is to have it just be kind of an equal armed cross, because then it becomes very like square and geometric, and you can actually take those pieces and then like piece them together into like a very wide, intricate mandala like cuff bracelet, or like as a center point for a necklace. Instead of having the tail coming off of it, you could do like a teardrop or a gemstone bead kind of hanging off of it. I mean, the possibilities here are pretty much endless. It's whatever variations you come up with. I would love to see or hear about them if you don't mind sharing. But yeah, I do hope this was helpful, and because it's a fun little project to make. If y'all enjoy my free tutorials and would like to support what I'm doing here, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. There's links down below, and pledges can start at just $1. At $10 a month, I start sending you just prizes every month. So it could be something that's already made or stuff to make stuff out of, if if you're craftily inclined. But yeah, and I also do a monthly fairy house giveaway. So again, that's all it takes is the $1 a month, and that's basically gets you a raffle ticket. So your name goes in the hat to possibly win a unique hand sculpted fairy house, which is kind of fun. So thank you guys again for watching. I hope you're having an awesome day, and happy crafting.